Welcome to Brazil Bound, presented by Castrol GTX High Mileage. We're here previewing the final group stage game for the U.S. at the 2014 World Cup. And of course, that means U.S. and Germany from Recife, Brazil on Thursday afternoon. Let me welcome in the guys here joining me, former U.S. national team assistant coach Jesse Marsch, and of course, MLSsoccer.com senior editor Simon Borg. And guys, let's start with the numbers game. There are a lot of permutations that get the U.S. through to the knockout round. Jesse, since you're an Ivy Leaguer, I'll give you the easy ones to start.
Okay. Well, I wasn't a math major in college, but I can tell you that if the U.S. wins, they win the group and then most likely avoid playing Belgium. If they draw, that means they take second in the group and would most likely draw Belgium at that point. So that's what I know.
And then it gets complicated, and Simon, we'll throw that your way.
It gets complicated if the U.S. lose against Germany, because then you have to look at the other game that'll be played at the same time, Portugal versus Ghana, and you have to look at the final result there, how many goals are scored for and against, because goal differential plays a part. But look, as you can see from the scenarios there, the ideal scenario for the U.S., a draw.
That makes things very easy. All right, let's take a look at how the U.S. are going to try to get their desired result when they take on Germany, and head over to the big board. I'll introduce into the show Matt Doyle, the armchair analyst, and Jesse. Guys, break down what we expect to see from this U.S. lineup.
Thanks, Zags. Jesse and I kicked this around a bit heading into the show, and we think there's really only going to be one personnel change. It's going to be this guy right here, DeAndre Yedlin on the right. Both of us like the way he played against Portugal.
Yeah, I think the combination of the way he played in the last game, as well as what he provides tactically, means that I think he's a probable starter.
Yeah, and that switches Graham Zusi over to the left-hand side. The fact that he has a little less mileage on his legs this part of the tournament than Alejandro Bedoya makes him a good choice up there. Yeah. There's some other stuff too, though.
Yeah, you know, I mean, this is still all a little bit of a guess, but the other one that's a good possibility is that actually instead of Yedlin, they wind up going with Wondolowski, and then in that moment, it would look a little bit more like a 4-4-1-1.
Right.
Okay. So I think Wando came in and did a good job last game, and I think that what he does provide is someone up the field a little bit more who can hold on to the ball and lets Dempsey roam around underneath and find the game.
Yeah, and importantly, we both think that the back line is going to stay together. Cohesion, especially against a team that can move like Germany, is important. Simon may have other ideas, though.
Well, I have one question is, I saw you took out Yedlin, put in Wando, possibly another scenario, Brad Davis in for Yedlin, a little bit more experience, a guy who can help you possess the ball in a game that's going to be played in the heat, and you might need to go to your possession. What are the chances that Brad Davis fits in?
Yeah, I think it's a possibility, and when he plays on the left, he has a little bit more soccer in him, and if this is a slower game and a little bit hotter, then that could play into Brad Davis's strengths. And then, obviously, whenever he's on the field, he's a big factor on set pieces.
Yeah, set pieces where the U.S. have made their mark in this tournament. Of course, Germany known to bag a couple themselves. Not going to be easy, either from the run of play or on restarts.
All right, guys, we're going to have plenty more at the tactics board, including looking at the Germany lineup after this. But first, I want to toss it down to Recife, Brazil, and our own Andrew Wiebe on location.
If you were looking for news out of Matchday -1 here in Recife, well, think again. The same old from Jurgen Klinsmann. Perhaps the best soundbite, this quote: "We are no underdogs against Germany." Of course, Klinsmann and his players know plenty about the German team. 5 players plying their trade in the Bundesliga, and Jogi Löw, Klinsmann's former assistant, leading the side they'll face on Thursday. The big concern in this one, fitness. The U.S. has one less day to recover than Germany, and they just played in Manaus, the site of heat, humidity, and long travel times. The 4 teams that played in Manaus lost their very next game. That would be England, Croatia, Cameroon, and Italy. Of course, all played against South American teams. The United States, well, they'll be hoping that a North American team can continue that trend.
Thanks, Andrew. All right. Things don't look good for teams coming out of the game in Manaus. Again, 0-4. You saw it there, and Andrew mentioned it, guys. None of those teams had to play this German team, which is loaded either. So let's take a look at what their lineup is.
Thanks, Eggs. Well, this guy we think is going to start. Jerome Boateng came off at the half for Germany against Ghana with an injury knock, but all reports are that he's good to go against the U.S. There's another one that we're worried about, though, from the German point of view. Sami Khedira likely out, we think, for Bastian Schweinsteiger.
Yeah, and when Schweinsteiger comes in, he's really a smart soccer player in the middle of the field that understands what the best games are about and understands how to balance his team out. So that could be a really good piece for them. Not as mobile as Khedira, but still a very good piece. Then the other one that's a potential possibility is Götze out and Schürrle in.
We think it makes Germany a little bit more direct on that left side, going at an area where the U.S. has been a little weak defensively.
Absolutely. And the one thing is they've had the extra day to recover. They didn't play in the heat. So it's possible that they go with the exact same starting lineup. But this is a little bit what we're hearing and what we think.
All right, Simon, we've seen the U.S. back into the knockout round before. If they lose this game to Germany, but they still advance, is there any issue with that as you kind of look forward to the knockout round, other than the fact that they're going to play Belgium?
There's no shame in it at all. What matters is get to the second round. Now, I would argue that it's actually a positive to finish second in the group. So if you do lose and go through, it's because you're second. And I think you face Belgium, yes, but I think it's a Belgium team that is beatable. And I think you'd rather be in that side of the bracket. Because on the other side, you're going to, sure, get an easy team. If you finish first, you'll get an easy team to start, an Algeria or a Russia. But then you face potentially France. And then, if you want to get ambitious as fans, we all are, you look ahead. In the semis, it's either Brazil or Colombia, possibly. The other side of the bracket, it's a lot easier. So finishing second, losing your last game, and still making through could work out.
I love how ambitious you are, Simon, because when you look at it, the other side of the bracket, you have Belgium, then you probably have Argentina. And then it's the Netherlands or potentially Mexico, which I think is what we would all root for, U.S. and Mexico playing in a semifinal of a World Cup. And hey, you never know, right? All right, let's throw it back over to the tactics board so Jesse and Matt can get into a little bit of how they think this game is going to break down.
Yeah, those guys can figure out who we're going to be in the final. We're going to figure out exactly how to get there. This is what we think the game is going to look like. 4-5-1 from the U.S., that 4-6-0 from Germany.
Yeah, and when you look at from a U.S. attacking perspective, areas that we can cause them trouble would be a little bit similar to the Portugal game, where the areas that are next to Lahm and in front of their back line, there are some pockets in their team there. So anytime we can get movement where Zusi's coming into that pocket to see if he can catch a ball in that passing lane, and now Beasley's joining in, what that does is put Boateng in a position where he has to decide, am I going to deal with the runner or am I going to step in the midfield? Does the same for Lahm. So it puts them in a little bit of a disadvantage and where we have a 2-on-1. And if we can get balls in there quickly, that's a way that we can get at them in the attack.
And the other thing to think about is Yedlin. He's going to be playing nominally the same position as Zusi, but he'll be playing it differently. We expect Zusi to come in and operate in this pocket. Yedlin is going to stay wide and try to get around the edge, play like an old-fashioned winger, maybe Eddie Lewis style. And that will open up this channel right here for Fabian Johnson, an inverted fullback. We saw it against Turkey. I would like to see it again against Germany.
And again, what it challenges is their back line aren't the fastest group of players. So if we can, on the right side and then with Beasley from the left, use some speed to really test them, and then use guys like Dempsey, Bradley, and Zusi in pockets, that's a way that we might be able to test them a little bit.
Yeah, flow underneath this area right here, make them have good connections between the central midfield and central defense. Guys, I think Jesse and I figured it out.
Okay, that's all good. You were looking to score for the U.S. But now, where's the U.S. getting exposed, though, in the back? Because what Germany like to do, tell me if I'm wrong, they overload certain areas. It's the beauty of having Thomas Muller floating around. Toni Kroos will join the attack. They can cause issues for the back line.
Yes, and what they do in these moments is they do a really good job of creating little triangles throughout the midfield so that there are constantly options for the next play. And it's different than the Portugal game where now a guy like Cristiano Ronaldo would come into space and he's looking for one-on-ones and we all need to shift over. As we shift over as a team here, they will constantly manage to put themselves in little spaces could you press the draw for me? So that when the ball comes into a guy like Oisel, he'll quickly see how to play with Mueller. Then they'll look to play there. Maybe another pass here. Then it's often the third runner or the fourth runner who finds the penetrating run and the penetrating pass that can cause troubles from lots of different angles.
Yeah, and we saw it for Germany already in this tournament, including that Götze goal against Ghana. He was able to get to the back post from a wing position. Schürrle does it better. Schürrle actually is a little more direct from there, I think a more dangerous goal scorer. I think that's why he's going to start, and I think that gap between Fabian Johnson and Jeff Cameron, that's where teams have found pay dirt against the U.S. so far.
And what it does is it's a different kind of animal than either Ghana or Portugal, in terms of the fact that they can hit you from multiple places. They have multiple talented players who are very sharp on the ball, very smart. So it takes a total team defensive effort in terms of now spacing yourselves the right way, working off of guys' shoulders, and it's not just about eliminating one or two players. It's about the team concept in this one.
It's going to have to be a complete team effort. It's going to have to be a really, really good game from the U.S.
All right, guys, well, let's see what everyone's thoughts are on how this game will actually play out. We'll do a little round of predictions here, and we're going to start it back at the board with the armchair analyst, Matt Doyle. Matt, I hope you have some good news for your soccer fans out there.
Unfortunately, I do not. I've been a pessimist all tournament so far. I think this is going to be just a bridge too far for the U.S. coming in on short rest after the heat of Manaus. I think it's going to be 3-0 to Germany. I think it's going to be pretty comprehensive. I'm hoping for a draw in the other game because that means the U.S. goes through anyway.
This is what happens when he comes to New York. Hangs around me a little, rubbing off.
More dark cloud.
All right, Jesse, what do you have here in this game?
Well, I do have a lot of concerns for this match, and a lot of it stems from the fact that we're coming out of a game where we were totally physically challenged and we're a little bit now depleted in terms of energy. But I do think that Germany understands that they don't need to push the game as hard as they have in the past either, because a draw is still good for both of them. I think we get a cautious start. There will be moments in the game where now there's action and explosiveness, but I expect the U.S. to get a 1-1 draw and go through and play Belgium.
All right, this is the part in the program where things usually get a little cloudy. Simon usually likes to start messing with fans' heads. What do you have for us, Simon?
I agree with Jesse. It's going to be a slow pace, under the sun, beating down on these two teams. It's going to go at a slow pace, but then Germany, all of a sudden, they lull you to sleep. They go at that slow pace, and then beep, 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 all those connections that Jesse told you about, and they score goals. I think they put 3 past the U.S., 3-1 for Germany, and then you just got to pay attention to Portugal-Ghana. Second half, we'll be watching Portugal-Ghana. Everyone in the United States will.
All right, there you have it. Very predictable that Simon was going to go against. I didn't know Matt was going to go so strongly against the U.S. I'm with Jesse. I'm going with a 1-1 draw.
Smart man.
Again, Germany and the U.S. from Recife, Brazil at noon Eastern time on Thursday. We will have full coverage here on MLSsoccer.com after the match, including a live post-game show where we want to hear from you. You can call in to talk to us after the match at 212-481-1951. Thanks again for watching Brazil Bound, presented by Castrol GTX High Mileage.